Yeah, Jeremy was talking about getting caught up in insanity, and I can't even imagine being in his shoes, because I was so caught up, just like you were, right? Every day, you'd look on the sports page and find out, man, how many points did he score, right? And everyone was talking, and I was like, no way, another game, another game. Everybody's getting so hyped, it's like, yeah, China. All my friends were like looking at me like, no way, he just flipped off the teacher. And I was so proud because I got everyone's acceptance, for a few moments. And then she goes, I'm going to call your dad. And I thought, no way, because my dad, he used to beat the heck out of me, if I did anything wrong. And so I was terrified, but I'm with all my friends, so I'm just looking at her, I don't care, And I remember her taking me, to the principal's office and calling my dad and going, your son flipped me off today. And I thought, he doesn't know what that means. And she's like trying to explain, like, no, he gave me the bird. And I thought, he's so clueless. So the whole day, in my mind, I'm walking home and I'm going, oh, I hope he didn't call a white friend. And I get to the door and I just pretend like nothing happened. And he's right at the door to greet me. And he just goes, your teacher called. And I go, oh, that's nice rating. And I'm trying to walk away. And he goes, she was mad. I go, what, man? Happy day. Trying to go. And she said, you flip off. I was like, what is flip off? He had no clue what I did, but he still hit me. I remember, man, as a kid, those are the two things I cared about. It's like, what's my dad going to do to me? And what do my friends think of me? And I go to church and say I believe in this and that. But you guys, pretty soon, I started reading this book for myself, and that's when everything changed. Man, it's so weird because I went to church for years and no one in church ever described God to me. They tell me to believe in Him. They tell me the things that He did, but they never actually described Him. And the other thing, they never actually told me how to get to heaven. Man, that's crazy. After all the death I experienced, and yet no one thought, let's tell them who God is. We just went, we sang songs, we listened to messages, and I didn't understand what they were saying. But then I started reading this book, and you guys, I went from just believing that God was real and believing in Jesus to where I went, okay, no way. My whole identity is wrapped up in Him. Man, when I read the way the Bible described Him, has anyone ever described God to you? Man, I started reading about how Moses said to God, God, can I see you? Just let me look at you right now. And do you remember what God says to Moses? He says, no. He says, no man can see my face and live. God's saying, do you understand? Okay, so right now in heaven, there's this being up there who's determining whether or not we live through tonight. There's a person up there, and he says, man, if I tore the roof off of the Cow Palace and had you look at my face, you would all die. That's crazy. I don't know your background. If you grew up in church or whatever, or you were told, well, there's good people, bad people, it's just not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches we're all sinners and we all need Jesus. And maybe tonight was the first time you feel like you personally told God that you really believe in Him and that you want to follow Jesus and you want Him in your life. The Bible says you're supposed to get baptized because baptism was a public confession where you confessed to everyone. It's like getting married and go, look, I'm going to stand in front of all these witnesses and say, look, I'm committing to this person. Baptism was the same thing where you just got in front of everyone said, look, I believe Jesus died and he rose again. And I'm uniting with him, and I am not ashamed. I will confess that Jesus is Lord, and I believe in my heart that God raised him from the dead. It was a public confession. And so I'm going to ask you to do something right now. If you prayed tonight, and it was real to you, you really told God, maybe for the very first time, I believe in you and I'm ready to follow you. If that's you, would you just stand up right now? Just so I can pray for you. If you gave your life to Jesus tonight, pray. And ask him for your life. Just stand up. Awesome. Just stay standing. Those who gave your life to Jesus, just stay standing. We have ushers that are going to give you a little card that you can fill out. I have a little video on there that tells you the next steps in your walk with the Lord. Anyone else that gave their life to the Lord tonight, just stand up where you are. Don't be ashamed. That's awesome. Just fill out that card and I'll give you some stuff to follow up on. But the rest of you guys, be praying for these people. Because you know how it works, right? You give your life to the Lord and all these temptations start coming your way. You start trying to follow him, and that's when all the attacks come. So be praying for these people. But here's the last thing I want to say before I leave. The story in Isaiah 6 is really crazy because it doesn't end there. Right after Isaiah's forgiven, I don't know if you ever notice what happens, but God himself, Isaiah says, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And then I said, here am I, send me. Isaiah hears God go, I need someone to speak up for me. I need something needs to be done. And Isaiah goes, pick me, take me. I thought you were going to kill me a second ago, so take me. I cannot believe you've forgiven me. Just take me. I'll do whatever. But here's the crazy part. What God says to him is he says, go and say to this people, keep on hearing but don't understand. Keep on seeing but do not perceive. Make the heart of this people dull and their ears heavy and blind their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their hearts and understand with their hearts and turn and be healed. So then I said, how long, Lord? And he says, until cities lie waste without inhabitant, and houses without people, and the land is a desolate waste. He goes on and on. So Isaiah goes, okay, what do you need, God? I'll go do it. And God says, I want you to go talk to the people, but here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell them about me, but they're not going to listen. And Isaiah's like, well, how long do I got to keep that up? He goes, until they're destroyed. Wow, that was his assignment? You guys, when I read that, I thought, man, listen, you guys, don't you hate being rejected? But God gave Isaiah the assignment. He goes, I want you to tell people about me. And guess what? They're not going to listen to you. And so we have to make the decision to say, you know what, God? My identity is in you, and I'm going to speak up about you, even if I'm rejected. Man, I know we were so fired up. Weren't you so fired up to see Jeremy get up here and say, look, I'm not ashamed of Jesus. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. And in fact, I find my identity in Jesus and nothing else. Man, we got so fired up. But you guys, the Bay Area is dying for people like you to be able to do the same thing in your circle of influence. Yet you might not get 10,000 people to the Cow Palace. Probably not. But you know what? You've got friends at school, people at work. And is it an honor for you to say to that God that forgave you, you know what? Here am I, send me. I'm going to go. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to say what I need to say. Man, I don't want to be racist here, but maybe. I when I was in China at the underground church, I was blown away by the passion of these people. There were these 20-somethings that they were crying as they're praying and screaming out to God and saying, God, send me to the most dangerous places on earth. I mean, they were literally just standing up and begging God, please send me somewhere dangerous. I want to die in your name. I want to die preaching the gospel. And I remember I took my oldest daughter with me, and we're just going, wow, look at the passion of these people. But it bothered me because I thought, man, why is it that the church in China is so fired up and nothing is holding them back and they're reaching millions of people? But then I go back to the Chinese churches in America and I just go, where's the fire? And again, I don't mean, it's just, I grew up in that type of church and I've always just wondered, I go, man, how come you guys aren't fired up about this? How come you're not concerned about your friends and where they might go if they don't know God? How do you not get there? And I just pray and I go, God, I know there's going to be a lot of people from the Asian community here tonight. I just go, God, would you just light a fire in us again? Could it happen right here in America? See, I thought I was going to stay in China. I just thought, man, this is where I love it. I feel like I fit in. Here it doesn't look at like I'm crazy. And I'm going, no, I just felt like God was saying, no, go back. Go back to America because I want to do something there. And I want to believe that, you know what, He can stir something up in this group. But it starts with us finding our identity in Him and go, man, I don't care about any human being. I don't care what people think about me. I'm going to stand before that God one day, and I don't want to be ashamed of Him while I'm here on this earth. Man, can you imagine? As Tyler leads us in a song, I'm just going to be praying that the Spirit of God falls upon this place. And that there's just a new fire in us. Because look at the army out here. Man, we could do some damage in a city that really needs it. I'm going to pray that God lights a fire, that His Holy Spirit just stirs in us. So like Isaiah, all of us are going, okay, God, send me. I'll go. I'll say whatever I need to say. I'm not going to be ashamed.